What's going on, YouTube? So today on Film Culture with Kalen, we're going to talk about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And I don't usually watch other people's reviews before I make my review, because I don't want outside opinions, no matter what, kind of sway me either way. So I really like to just do my review, and then I watch other people's reviews to see where they fell into this movie, especially The Odyssey. So to give a little backstory, people were really worried about The Odyssey, and it makes sense. It was a massive thing on Twitter. Sorry, move a little bit. There was people that were picking sides, people that were arguing about Ellen Page's role and the historical accuracy of The Odyssey, and there was other people that were really going to enjoy the movie no matter what Christopher Nolan made, because it's Christopher Nolan. There was sides. It was all over Twitter for the weeks that led up to this movie. And everybody was on the edge of their seat, and I think that's partially why the movie did so well, is because it built up those arguments, and so people wanted to go to be proven right or wrong. They wanted to go be proven right. And I went as someone who my bar was really low for The Odyssey, because I wasn't expecting The Odyssey. I wasn't expecting a movie that I would 100% say, hey, yeah, this is The Odyssey book. I was expecting a Christopher Nolan directed film, and I love Christopher Nolan. He's tied with Quentin Tarantino as my favorite director of all time. Him and Quentin Tarantino really don't have a bad movie. This might be Christopher Nolan's worst film, but Christopher Nolan's worst film is the best film Steven Spielberg has ever made. You know what I'm saying? Not that, but close. Christopher Nolan is an absolutely amazing director. So I've been kind of thinking about it, reminiscing. I went and saw it on opening day, and I'm trying to figure out a way how to review it fairly without being too hard on it. Trying to be. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple videos I watched. One of my favorite Greek mythology guys is the mythology guy, who I absolutely love, and it would be awesome if he sees the video. He won't, but the mythology guy did a review on it, and he said he enjoyed the film, which I was surprised with, because I wouldn't say that I really enjoyed it for the Greek mythology, the Greek myth, the actual Odyssey book / poem. I didn't like it for that reason. So I'm been listening, and I listened to Ben Shapiro, and I don't agree with whatever Ben Shapiro says, but I listened to Ben Shapiro's review, and I disagree with Ben Shapiro because I don't find the movie that good. And so there's some people that I was genuinely surprised about that liked the movie, and then there was people that didn't like it. So I just needed to take a day and just think about what I watched, and now we can finally talk about it. So buckle in and let's get into it. So obviously, spoilers ahead. The Odyssey came out a day ago, yesterday. So if you don't want to hear me rant about it, then go watch it now. It's in theaters, so you've been warned. So my biggest problem with The Odyssey is, yes, people overhyped Ellen Page's role and Helen of Troy's character in this movie, but that does not excuse that they should not have been casted. They should have not casted a black Helen of Troy, and they should not have casted Ellen Page as not Achilles' character, but has some of the things. He goes by a different name. But to be fair, Ellen Page's character does have a small role, and so does Helen of Troy. So it's not absurd to say, hey, listen, I'll take that punch, because we got all the other cast was really, really well rounded. So I'd be the first to say, if this is not a good argument, if you guys just don't care, then fine. But I like historical accuracy, and Helen of Troy wasn't black, and Ellen Page, a transgender person, should not be in that film. Okay. We got those two other things out of the way. Those are the clear things I just don't. Those are kind of I'm calling this for you kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Those are the ugly. There's a couple other ugly categories too, but let's start off with the good. Let's actually let's hype this movie up a little bit. So it's directed by Christopher Nolan. So visually, it's absolutely amazing. It's directed fantastically. What you see on screen is it's gorgeous. They did a really good job with the scenes, with the scenery. Christopher Nolan's directing just comes through. It's a really beautiful movie to look at, and it's very well paced for an over 3 hour film, and it's very well overall, like, the cinematography is amazing in this film. The music is surprisingly good. However, I do think it's too loud in certain scenes. One of my problems with Nolan, especially in this movie, a little bit intended, just a little bit, is that, like, sometimes his music is so loud, I have to cover my ears, and then whenever someone's talking, I can't hear them as well, because the music is just, especially in the Odyssey, those drums, boom, 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 boom. There was some times where, like, I literally could not, I had to cover my ears because it was hurting my ears. And I was in the back row of the movie theater. I usually sit back row middle because the screen is in full view, and most people don't sit back there, so I can, like, write my review and just, like, leave people alone. So I sit back there, and I thought it was still loud, really loud. Now I know there's speakers above me, people are going to say, but anyway, I thought it was really, really loud. That's the one thing. I thought this movie was way too loud in certain places. So, that's one thing. But the music was good overall. So I am I'm happy with that decision. Casting wise, see, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I really liked their casting, but I wish they had casted Greek people too. I think with a Greek myth and a Greek poem and a Greek story like this, you want Greek men or women, but mostly men because the story's about Odysseus, to play the roles of the characters, because this is their, people always say this is their culture. Well, it is. So I would have liked to see Greek people actually participate in this movie, and you just didn't really see it. But again, like, Braveheart, or Braveheart's a little bit more or less, but, like, I really like the movie Braveheart. I really like the movie Gladiator. Well, they should have casted, an Italian for Gladiator. Maybe Russell Crowe is Italian. I'm not sure about that. Probably is, but I don't know. Historical movies like this, like, people are going to say that's not a valid criticism, and you're right. I'm just trying to say that, like, I think that for a story like this, I would have liked to see actual Greek actors in this. I think it would have been really cool. So here's just another quick one. I think it would have been really cool if they had done, like, a Passion of the Christ thing, where they had spoken in Greek the whole movie. Now, I know they weren't going to do that, but that would be kind of cool. To really, like, they should have gotten Greek actors and then talked in Greek the whole time with English subtitles, obviously. The whole time they talked in Greek. I think that would have been super cool. It would have immersed you in the world of the Odyssey even more, in my opinion. That's one thing. I'm not a big Passion of the Christ guy, but that's one thing that I really liked about the Passion of the Christ, and I'm not usually a subtitled guy, is that they spoke in Arabic the whole entire movie. Just the whole entire movie, they spoke in Arabic. And I was like, it's a cool idea, and I was hoping that, like, if I was directing the Odyssey, which would be worse than the Christopher Nolan's, obviously, but I would have hired Greek actors, and then I would have made them have them speaking Greek the whole time to get that really good Odyssey feel to it. But it's a really, really small complaint. A couple other complaints I have is, overall, most of the story isn't accurate to what I remember reading the Odyssey. So, I'm a Greek mythology nerd. Obviously, I'm not as in tuned as historians are, or like the mythology guy on YouTube, or John Solo on YouTube. I'm not to their level, but I have problems with the movie that I can just remember from reading my book, and I have a couple books on it, and I've read 4 books on the Odyssey, and 3 of them are different. Anyway, I had a couple problems with the story overall, because it's like, it's the Odyssey. I'm like, well, when you don't have the Lotus Eater Islands, and you don't have other parts of the story, I'm a little bit thrown off. I remember the Lotus Eater Island, like, when I first read the book, and, like, yeah, it's kind of, you could say it's a waste of time, but, like, it's, again, the whole Odyssey book is, like, just showing you, like, Odysseus trying to get home, and Odysseus' cleverness, and him trying to, like, again, it's really hard because I haven't read the book in a while, like 5-6 years probably. So anyway, and now I'll talk about the inaccuracies of the movie, and actually I'll just go into it right now. So my big problems is Ellen Page casting. I don't think she should have been in there, but I already said that, so we won't go. That's my one big thing. Two, is it to me, or is this movie kind of like ugly? So, like, for me, I've always visualized the horse from Troy to be standing with wheels underneath it. They put wheels underneath it. Like, in all of the other books I have, it's like the horse was standing. And, like, all the other movies you see in, the horse is standing. And I don't know which one's more historically accurate, but it kind of threw me off because the horse is, like, sitting all weird, and guys are drowning and pooping themselves, and people die in the horse while they wait for the Trojans, which is kind of weird to me. Again, could be totally wrong. I'm just so used to the, like, Troy, the 2001 movie, 2002. I'm so used to that kind of horse that, like, it was standing and they just dropped it. But, again, I don't know historically what kind of horse it was, what they did. We probably don't really know. It was probably a design that Christopher Nolan wanted to do. So, to me, though, I would have liked to see a different kind of horse. But, again, my opinion rests. Next is my big problem. Another problem is okay, so Odysseus leaves. First thing is we don't have the Lotus Eater island. I'm going to talk about this real fast. So in the book, his crew stops at the Lotus Eater island. There's people there. They offer them food. The lotuses basically make you sleep, and they like make your memory foggy. They don't like make you mind wipe, but they like make. And so Odysseus knows this, and he basically just forbids them from eating them. He's like, no, and then he like drags them back to the ship and leaves. Because Odysseus is the only one who realized what he was doing, because it's like part of his cleverness, his intelligence. He knew. And so this is like one of his moments. So then we come to the island with the Cyclops on it. Polyphemus? Yeah, Polyphemus. I'm going to say his name right. I believe so. I haven't done research on names. So, Polyphemus, they go to the cave of they get to the island of Polyphemus, and they see a giant sheep herd. And in the story, it's different than in the movie. In the movie, they all just walk in there. Well, in the book, or the poem, they bring up a bunch of wine with them to trade to the locals because they think there's people on this island they want to trade with. So they bring up wine. So in the movie, they just go into the cave, they help themselves, and then the Cyclops comes in. In the book, this all happens, but they eat, they party. Cyclops comes in, and he kills 2 guys every day. They show that in the movie, which is nice. But then how it differs is that how they gouge out the eye. So in the book, Odysseus gives the wine to the Cyclops, and Polyphemus gets drunk. And he goes, "Excuse me, sir." Basically, I'm summarizing this in my... excuse me, sir, what is your name so that I may thank you? And Odysseus, not wanting to use his real name, says, "My name is Nobody. Nobody." And so he says, "My name is Nobody." And so when the giant falls asleep from his drunkenness, and Odysseus sharpens a stake in the cave, when he gouges out his eye, which he does in the book as well, when the other Cyclops, because yes, there's other Cyclops on the island in the book, they come to Polyphemus's cave. They're like, "Polyphemus, what is wrong? What's happening? Who's killing you in there?" And he's like, "Nobody is killing me." And they're like, "Oh," and he outsmarted. That's another thing, is like they don't show, like, Odysseus is they don't show that very well in the movie, I don't think. And this is like another scene where like you understand Odysseus is clever. He's the reason Troy fell. He came up with the Trojan horse. He's extremely intelligent, witty, and strategic. So the book kind of just shows you like those little, his like, not his feats, but like if you were gonna make like, not a power ranking, but if you were gonna make a video about like Odysseus versus Achilles, these are like areas you would say like, well, he was able to trick a group of Cyclops, basically, and he does, because all the other Cyclops leaves Polyphemus's cave because they believe nothing is wrong. And so, that's just really cool. And the whole cool thing, that's the thing I didn't like in the movie. First of all, Polyphemus is ugly, and doesn't speak at all a word. And I wanted that whole conversation. And I wanted the nobody scene. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Odysseus say, "I am nobody," because he uses it later in the movie, I believe. I don't remember. I think so I'll just tell you now. I think at the end, when he goes back to Penelope's when he goes back to his mansion, he goes by the name of Mr. Nobody. In the story, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's the connection there. I think that I'm right, but I'm not, like, 100%. Again, if the mythology guy or John Solo sees this, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled. Anyway, he goes, so that scene was taken out, and I really wanted that scene. I thought it was going to be super cool. I was hoping for it the most. I didn't, and I'm disappointed by that. And that, like, automatically drops it down like a half a star to me. So, anyway, I'll give you a 10 out of 10 rating and a star rating after this. So, I did feel like they could have done a little bit better in that scene. Next scene I have a problem with is, okay, I don't want to be that guy, but I have a problem with the Cersei scene. So, I don't like the Cersei scene. I think, so basically, Cersei is a witch who turns travelers, mostly men, into animals, different types of animals. So in the story, Odysseus' men go to the witch first, and she gives them food and they all turn into pigs. And so, here's the thing. I think it was really, really visually ugly in the movie. Like, she's grabbing their face and, like, molding it, and I guess it's kind of cool, but, like, visually, it's a very ugly film to me. There's not a lot, like, it's dark all the time. I know all the dark scenes people are like, it's supposed to be dark, I know. But, like, in the castle, it's really dark, and in the temple, it's really dark, and I know that's how it was, but, like, it's very dark to me. This movie feels like not a lot of light, not a lot of good visual color, too. And so, Cersei's scene, I was expecting the island to be a little bit more, vegetation and a little bit more, well, when we get to Calypso, we'll talk about that, but, I was hoping a little bit more from Calypso's whole scene, Cersei's scene, maybe just visually different, because, like, it's cool how she, like, molds them into becoming pigs, but, like, I was thinking that they eat the stew and then they just magically turn into pigs. It's not like a shape-shifting thing. It was kind of weird to watch on screen, and the makeup artist did a really good job, but it was, like, kind of weird to see their faces distort all hidden. Anyway, I think it's, like, I think they wanted to do that for a reason, so I'm not going to be too hard on it, but that's not the way I would have gone if I had made this film. So in the book, Odysseus goes there, and he outsmarts her, and he doesn't eat the food, and then he threatens to kill her. They become lovers, by the way. Another big problem I have in this movie is they made Odysseus purposely better so you could root for him. Odysseus is not supposed to be... Oh, anyway, we'll get there in a second. So, in the book, as far as I know, there's no raven that he threatens to strangle. He just threatens to kill her. And she turns all his men from pigs back into soldiers. And then Odysseus and her become lovers, and for a year, I believe, or it's a certain amount of time, and then I think she goes with him, but then she goes, you have to go back to the undying land. Anyway, the book and the movie kind of, but all I remember is that he's a lover with Cersei for a while, because it's ancient Greece and it's Odysseus. You can't blame the man because anyway, so that's one thing they did in the movie, that I didn't like. They made Odysseus, like, so I'll get to it at the end. The next one I have a problem with is Calypso. So I think the actress who did Calypso, I don't remember her name, did a fantastic job. But that island is ugly. So Calypso's island is supposed to be a paradise where you never want to leave. There's grass, there's trees. It's just supposed to be like paradise on Earth. I'm thinking of like Hawaii island level. And this movie just does everything like, it's just meh. This movie's very ugly to me. It's very, there's not a lot of, like, places where it's, like, wow, visually to me. It's more the characters and the performance that made me wow, and then I get goosebumps. But, like, visually, I wasn't finding a lot of that. Calypso's island just looks barren. It looks empty. It looks ugly. It's like, how would he have stayed there for 7 years? Or I don't remember how long in the book. I don't know if it's a difference. It's very ugly, and I don't like it. I think this movie could have done a lot better if they made a few things more visually stunning and more visually beautiful and appealing to the eyes. and I was lacking that in my Odyssey. And I think I think my book and my 3 versions of the graphic novel all show different art styles and different ways of showing Calypso's Island, and I kind of have one in my brain. Percy Jackson does a good job of this too, and I nail Percy Jackson for making terrible movies and TV shows, but the books are absolutely amazing, and that's how I kind of envisioned when he meets Calypso in the 2nd series. Yes. Anyway, so I don't know. It's a small thing, but Calypso's Island is supposed to be a paradise, and it's not a paradise. It's a barren wasteland, basically. So those are kind of the 3 big issues I had with the film. The ending's fine. So I was hoping for the nobody payoff. At least I think I'm correct when he uses that to return to his wife. Oh, by the way, he's also sleeping with Calypso in the story. So again, they don't want, but see, they made Odysseus a better man in this movie because they didn't want you to hate the main character. They didn't want you to not root for him, so they had to change his character, which I have a problem with. So, anyway, basically, we'll just finish this and then I'll give you a quick. So, end of the movie is he goes back home and he kills all the suitors. And in the movie, which I liked the movie for this, the movie, so he strings the bow and then he pops it and then he shoots the arrow and Penelope, who knows who it is, and then he goes on a whole rampage and kills all the suitors. So they did that scene very well. It's a great scene. Really good. They did, Robert Pattinson and did an absolutely amazing performance. If anything I took away from this movie is I've been kind of a Robert Pattinson, not hater, but like kind of spectacle. Anyway, I've been kind of just not like into him like very much. He did a really good job acting this film. Everyone did a really good job acting this film. Tom Holland's character, he portrayed him. He did an amazing job. Anne Hathaway, fantastic performance. Matt Damon as Odysseus, absolutely fantastic, on screen, amazing. Robert Pattinson's character did an absolutely amazing. They all acted, even Agamemnon. I'm going to say his name wrong, and then people are in the comments are going to be like, "You're not a Greek myth guy." Agamemnon. The King of Sparta did in his black armor was really, really cool to see. There were some really, really good performances. I was surprised by the performances, although it is Christopher Nolan, so I was selling him short. Anyway, so movie ends really well. In the movie, they make the suitors able to fight back a little bit. Odysseus gets wounded. He gets arrows, which makes sense. I mean, because like he in the book, in the poem, he's just like, oh yeah, he just walks in there and kills everybody, and you're like, well, yeah, but there was a lot of guys in there, right? And so this gives it a little bit more realism, a little bit more grittiness. There's a servant like passing down weapons to the suitors, and so the suitors are able to fight back. But Odysseus finally wins, and he kills Robert Pattinson's character, and he basically gives him this trinket from Ellen Page's character that brought dishonor to him, and he sticks him in his mouth, and anyway. So it was a good death for Robert Pattinson. He did a good job. I wasn't like moved very much, like, it's Christopher Nolan, so. I mean, it's cool, but I at that point, I had sat through 2.5 hours of this movie or whatever, so we were coming down to the wire here. In the book, I think it's different about the ending. I don't think that Odysseus is exiled. I think he stays and rules as king for a little bit, but I don't remember. But I think there's an inaccuracy there, too. My biggest problem with the movie is they changed Odysseus' character to make him better to root for. Odysseus is not a good guy. Remember, Odysseus led to the downfall of Troy. And in the movie, they're kind of showing you that he feels guilty about it. And he goes into this whole spiel about it, which was kind of just like it felt like really, really weird. Like, he was like, I was there that night when we marched into Troy, and it was anarchy and debauchery, and then I'm like, bro, like, it's a war, like, what are you complaining about, you weak, little man. Like, well, what are you doing? He's like, I should have known. Like, bro, it's wartime. This you never bring up this concern in the book. Like, what are we talking about here? Why are you feeling guilty for your enemy who kidnapped your king's wife? And then you march over there and you fight a 10-year bloody war, and you're like, we shouldn't have gone in there. Like, what the heck? Anyway, completely changed. Anyway, yeah, and then this movie, so he feels sorry about the Trojan War. He doesn't do a few of the he doesn't do some of the things that make him less faithful to his wife. He's not as clever and cunning in this movie. They took out, again, I feel like they should have done the Polyphemus scene different. I did not say his name right. They should have done the Cyclops scene differently. They should have done, I think it would have been better to see the Lotus Eaters. I think they could have just made Odysseus look more like Odysseus, but I rest my case about that. Other complaints, armor. People were making fun of the armor. I'm not a big hater of the armor. The Odyssey is a historical, it's a 3,000-year-old book, but it's not historical. So we know the Trojan War probably happened, but this is a fanciful story about Odysseus' journey home where he meets gods. Poseidon, Hermes, Helios, Zeus, Athena, all these characters are in this book, and so it's not just a history book. This is a magic. This is a journey where he actually meets with gods. He talks with gods. And so I'm not really upset with the armor designs that people are saying they look historically inaccurate, or the ship designs. I'm not upset with that because, again, it's a historical book. It's not a historical story in the sense. Because it's a kind of not a fantasy world, but because it's a myth, you can kind of have those liberties you want. And so you can do different things with it. And that's what's kind of cool about it. So I really enjoyed, the armor and the weapons. They looked good to me. I could rant about how bad the Trojan armor looked. It looked like cheesy and cheap, and the helmets looked weird. But like, I'm not, because I don't want to hate, but like, I enjoyed how they took that liberty of just saying, hey, we wanted to do this for the movie, and I think it works. I think the armor is some like the most visually good stuff, especially Agamemnon's. That's not how you say it either. I'm sorry, guys. It's been way too long. I'm going to ruin his name. But his armor looked really, really good. So definitely, I'm glad they did that. But I think they changed Odysseus' character too much. I feel like... I think that they could have just done it a little bit differently. But again, this is not me hating on the movie. These are just some of this is just preferences. Other of this is just facts. So when it comes down to it, what do I really want to rate this film? Again, I'm looking at kind of everything here. So we'll just go in like quick summary. I think I covered everything I needed to cover. Let me just double check. Okay, so things I liked. The acting in this movie. John Bernthal's character, Matt Damon's character, Anne Hathaway's character, Tom Holland's, Robert Pattinson. The acting in this movie is absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. It's Christopher Nolan film. Of course it was going to be fantastic. Did perfect casting for a movie, even though they should have had used Greek actors. But really, really good casting. Really, really good acting from everybody. Really, really enjoyed that on screen. Another good thing, music for the most part was good. I liked the drums. I think they were a little bit too loud, but really good. Visually wise, mostly good. Found lacking in certain areas, but visually a very, very stunning film. And directing, obviously it's Christopher Nolan, so it's being directed by the best. Things I didn't like, a lot of the story to me is wrong. Odysseus is made too perfect. There's some politics that kind of go into the undertones of this that I don't like, especially in the final scene. Why was Athena on the Troy side? Why does he cut off the head of her statue? Well, he doesn't, but his men do. In the book, he is talking with Athena. He is having comfort. Like, she did not side with the Troy. Ares sided with Troy. Yet, she they put her on the bad side. They did Athena so badly in this movie. There's no other gods either. There's just so many things wrong with this movie. I can't stand, like, they just could have done so much better. This is Christopher Nolan. He could have done so much better. Anyway, that's another big wham, is no gods were portrayed besides Athena. They did a terrible job with Athena. It doesn't make any sense why she was on the Trojan side. Ares was on the Trojan side. He was the one that fought for them in the Trojan War. Athena was on the winning side. She hurt, with the help of, I forgot his name, she helped hurt Ares to leave the battle. Like, she was firmly on the Greek side. And they miscast Zendaya. I don't mind Zendaya. I think she's in too much stuff right now. I think she's way overhyped. I don't think she's that good of an actress. But, of course, they have to cast her because she's so big right now. I wouldn't have done it. I think it was a complete, utter miscast. I don't like it. I think it was a dumb move. And that's one thing that, like, this movie to me doesn't go above, like an 8 now. And I'll kind of tell you where I end up later because of just those few reasons. So, anyway, things that I didn't like: the gods, Odysseus changing his character, then taking out some parts of the story, the political undertones of feminism and the basically not toxic male masculinity, but they kind of do that. It's real. You see it, you don't see it. So my big problem, the one part that left me with a bitter taste in my mouth is when Odysseus comes home and he basically tells Penelope that the Trojan War was a mistake. Like, he's sorry, he went in there and, like, did all these things and, like, disfaced the Athena and, like, how he was wrong to do it. And I'm like, bro, like, you don't do that in the book. It doesn't make sense. You're kind of just being, like they did it, they obviously wanted they did it to make him, like, more relatable and to make him feel, I'm like, it didn't do that for me. Like, why are you apologizing for a war you willingly went to go fight? Like, you led to the downfall of Troy. Like, it's, he doesn't lose sleep over it at night, as far as I remember in the book, in the Odyssey. He just doesn't lose sleep over it. It's not that big of a deal. And in the movie, he's like, I should have never done this, and we ruined Zeus's law, and we went in there and we burned. And I'm like, dude, it's war. Like, what are you talking? Like, anyway, it's really aggravating to me, that whole final scene, because it doesn't make any sense to his character. Like, what are we doing here? Why am I hearing Matt Damon spiel out his heart and then reach out his hand and try to grab Athena's? And then we find out that Athena no, it doesn't make any sense. It's so dumb. I can't stand that part of the movie. It makes me mad because I was watching and I was like, this doesn't happen. I literally said out loud, like, what is this scene? I had a couple look behind me, like, look at me, and I was like, what is this scene? Christopher Nolan just wanted to add it for him to be more relatable, for him to see his flaws. I know, but it didn't do it for me. In fact, it kind of turned me off. The ugly. So the ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly, kind of. The ugly, I don't think they should have hired Greek actors. Helen of Troy, Ellen Page's character, that all falls under the ugly. Basically, that's the review. So now, let's just round this out because I've already spent 30 minutes talking. Let's just round this out with a few things. So first of all, would I recommend you watch this film? No. Reason why is because if you read the Odyssey, you're going to be disappointed. If you've read the Odyssey book, he obviously takes liberties, but you're probably going to be you're going to probably be a little bit sad because they didn't put certain parts of the movie or they twisted them. And so you're going to be like, oh, I'm a little bit disappointed. That's me. I'm a little bit disappointed. So I would not recommend this movie for you to watch if you've read the Odyssey. If you haven't read the Odyssey, you can make a stronger case that you could watch it, as long as you're not the kind of people that go, well, now I've watched the Odyssey, now I understand the Odyssey. No. Go read the Odyssey and you'll see the difference. It's a really clean movie, though. I'm gonna argue this. I think it's rated R. I'm not sure. There is no nudity in this film, which is amazing because it's Greek myth, and there's no nudity in this film. You see Agamemnon's wife stab him, but you can see her getting undressed, but she's not there. And you can see him lying on a bed, and he's like, you can tell he's naked, but you can't see anything that would visually, like, his neck, and you can see, like, his feet before she stabs him in the throat. They were obviously about to make love, so you can kind of tell that where you find them in. That happens in the myth. He dies that way. So that's like the only like inappropriate, because they kept out him Odysseus sleeping with Circe and sleeping with Calypso. So you don't get any, like, you don't have to worry about like any sexual content in this movie because they changed it so there is none. Which, to be fair, if you're not going along with the story, is a good move. I wouldn't have done it. I would have done it a little differently so you don't actually see them, but you understand the implications, because in the book, that's what happens. But for that, it's really, really good. It is rated R, and so there's violence, there's a couple F-bombs dropped, there's a son of a bee, and all of these people are going to argue that, again, this is another thing, is like historically inaccurate language, and I would understand. Although I don't know how far some of that word goes back. I do know that I finished reading a book from a 1453 letter about talking about Vlad the Impaler. The Ottomans called him, quote, a son of a bitch. Yes. The Ottomans in 1453 called Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Dracula, son of the dragon, that word back then. So I don't know the cuss words they used. Obviously, they weren't in English, but you could tell they could have expanded their. I think they could have done a little bit better to keep like modern words out of the movie and have done new words. I might have to bleep that word. I didn't use it like in this term, but again, I don't want this on anyway. How do YouTube reviews is confusing. So for that, yeah, it's a really clean, for the most part, it's a really clean movie. They keep everything pretty mellowed out, which I can't complain about. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, and then 1 out of 5 stars, so on a scale of 1 to 10, because all these reasons I've talked about, I can't put it super high. It's not terrible, but I can't give it more than like a 5. I think it's Christopher Nolan's worst film, and I think it's his worst film. Not by a lot, but it's definitely his worst film. I think Memento's better. I think Tenet's better, and Tenet's confusing. Tenet was his worst film. I think Dark Knight. I think The Dark Knight Rises. I think Prestige. I think all of his movies are better than this movie. So I can't give it very high, especially in a Christopher Nolan ranking video, which I'm going to do eventually, because Christopher Nolan is a fantastic director, and he doesn't have a bad movie. And so when you make a movie that's good, like the Odyssey, but it's not great, it's not near his best work, it falls behind because it just can't keep up with his other fantastic movies. And so I have to rank it lower because it's just not as good as any of his other films. And it will never be as good because it, like, again, we can argue, is it the Odyssey? It follows a rough Odyssey book themed story, but it's not really it is, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? So I can't give it super high reviews for that either, because like it's not what we wanted or what I wanted as a Greek mythology nerd. Again, it would be amazing if mythology guy commented. I might pin him because I would love. He's like one of my favorite YouTubers. I would love to see the mythology guy comment on this. He won't, but I would love to see it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Average, I know. People are going to say, well, you picked the most generic number possible, and I did. On a scale of 1 to 5 stars, because of Letterboxd and because of IDBM and because of Rotten Tomatoes, I'm leaning towards a 2 to a 3 star. What's really holding me back from going further is I think Christopher Nolan's directing carries this movie and the performances in it. I think everyone acted and absolutely amazing. And it is a pretty good story. So I'm going to lean towards 3. I'm going to give it a 3 star. That puts it above average slightly. I think that it's not a terrible movie, but I have a hard time going out and talking about this because it's just kind of meh. Yeah, that's it. That's all I kind of wanted to say. Obviously, I'm going to be in the minority probably who really liked the film. I just couldn't really get into it, which is sad because people did a really good job. And if you haven't read the Odyssey book, then the story's going to be pretty good to you. So yeah, I will say that the arguments online were a little bit overstated, and people got a little heated, and people got a little offended before they ever watched the movie. And so I'm happy that this movie kind of kept everything under wraps, and it was good because I was reading the whole internet debacle when it happened, and I was waiting to see the movie because I didn't want to say anything. And so now that I've seen it, now I can finally say. And so yeah. I will say this. I read a comment from Michael Knowles, and I don't agree with everything Michael Knowles says either, but basically he says that the movie is so over the top, and it's woke to its, like, not its core, but it's, like, very woke. And there is definitely some woke ideologies that are filtered in this movie because they used a new version of the Odyssey. You can tell, especially with Cersei, you can tell in certain areas that, yes, this movie is it has the left-leaning ideologies, and it's showing through. And that was aggravating to me, but I don't want the review to be about that. So at the end of this is why I'm bringing this up right now, is I think that Christopher Nolan, who made The Dark Knight, which is a edgy kind of movie, took this movie and was like, I'm going to give in a little bit. And he did. Because there's some feminist idea. There's a few things in here. It's not terrible, and it's undertoned. And you could say that's more dangerous. But at least with One Battle After Another, which is another terrible film, One Battle After Another was, listen, you can commit violence against the right, and you can murder them, and they can't do anything about it because they're evil Nazis. With Odyssey, it's undertoned. Cersei's like, all men are pigs. Go back to your disguises. Like, she's talking like subtly like that men are pigs, and that their flesh is their disguise. They actually belong as pigs, and that men are the ones who hurt her, and they were going to hurt her, even though Odysseus's men never actually were going to hurt her. She made these assumptions as a woman, and they were not true, and so she preemptively turned these men into pigs. And it makes it really weird because in the legend she just does it out of hatred. In the movie, she's like a fearful woman who doesn't want to be hurt by more men. And these men, they came into her home with weapons and armor on. How dare they? Even though they were travelers, obviously off their way from a war, but how dare they come into her home wearing weapons, and how dare they not even threaten to hurt her, but the possibility that they might have been wanting to hurt her. How dare they? That's what I didn't like, and that's why this movie doesn't get higher than from a 5 and a 3 star, because I understood the message a little bit. It was in there, and I didn't like it, because it doesn't do the story justice, it doesn't make any sense, and it's a pointless part of it. I don't care for that, and I don't care about it. So stop putting the ideology in my movies, because it doesn't help your case. In fact, it just makes me more staunchly anti all that, and it doesn't do anything for you in the long run. Anyway, end of the movie review. The Odyssey, directed by Christopher Nolan. Wouldn't recommend it. If you've read The Odyssey and you're a movie reviewer like me, go watch it. But remember, it is super clean. It is directed by Christopher Nolan. And, actually, you know what? You should... I would recommend it to certain people. If you have a group of buddies, go watch it. You'll laugh. You'll laugh at some certain scenes. If you bring 5 or 6 guys, you are going to have a good time watching The Odyssey no matter what. Because with the bros, it's always fun. But, yeah, it's clean. It's directed by Christopher Nolan, one of the best directors of our time, tied with Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. So, that's it. That's my review. Hope you guys watched. If you made it to the end, you're a better man than most. Anyway, talk to you guys later, and peace out.